Welcome to the Skin Bliss podcast, where we break down skincare with science, not hype.
Picture this. You wake up, you stumble into the bathroom first thing in the morning.
We have all been there.
Right. You flip on those notoriously unforgiving fluorescent lights and you look in the mirror.
Oh, the absolute worst lighting possible.
The worst. But you look in the mirror and you're in your 30s now, maybe mid-30s, and this thought just spontaneously pops into your head.
I don't look like myself.
Oh, exactly. I don't look like myself. It's not that you necessarily think you look bad. It's just, it's different.
Yeah, different.
The person staring back at you doesn't quite match that mental image you've been carrying around of yourself for the last decade.
No, it really doesn't. And I think it's important to say right up front, if you have had that exact moment, you are definitely not alone.
Not at all. And more importantly, you are not imagining things. Today's deep dive is all about unpacking the specific biological realities of what is actually happening to your face in your 30s.
Because there is real science behind it.
Exactly. We are pulling from some fascinating data compiled by Skin Bliss, specifically from their Aging at 30-plus series.
It's a really great resource.
It really is. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to separate the actual science of aging from, the relentless skincare marketing noise that just clutters our feeds every single day.
It is a critical distinction to make, and I think it's important to validate that specific experience you just described with the mirror.
Yeah, that shock.
Right. When you look in the mirror and think your face has changed, there is highly measurable biological science behind that realization.
It's not just in your head.
No, not at all. We often brush off these subtle changes, right? We attribute them to a stressful month at work or, I don't know, a few nights of bad sleep.
Right, I'm just tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in reality, there are fundamental structural shifts happening beneath the surface. And understanding the mechanics of those shifts is really the key to reclaiming control over how you approach your skin health.
And honestly, how you feel about the aging process as a whole.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into the anatomy of it, because the first major point in the data tackles probably the biggest misconception we have about aging.
The wrinkle obsession.
Yes. We are so conditioned to obsess over wrinkles. We pull the skin taut to check for crow's feet. We scrutinize our forehead for frown lines.
Right, we're looking for lines.
But the biology shows that the primary shift making you look fundamentally different isn't actually happening on the surface of your skin at all.
No, it's not.
It's a physical change in the three-dimensional structure of your face. Specifically, we're talking about volume loss.
Exactly. The data on facial volume is incredibly consistent here. Starting right around age 30, the body begins to lose about 1% of its facial fat every single year.
1% a year.
Every year. Now, we know facial fat is what provides that youthful, rounded, lifted contour in our 20s.
Right, the baby face.
Yeah, the plumpness. But it's not just a matter of the fat shrinking. It's about how those fat pads behave.
Oh, right, they move.
Yes. In our 20s, the fat pads in our cheeks are tightly packed together. As we enter our 30s, and lose that 1% annually, those fat pads begin to separate slightly.
And then gravity does its thing.
Exactly. Gravity causes them to migrate downward. So the entire architectural foundation of your face is shifting.
It's essentially like the underlying scaffolding of a building is being altered.
That's a perfect analogy.
The exterior is still intact, but the underlying shape is shifting the entire facade.
Yes.
And when you look in the mirror, this manifests in very specific ways, doesn't it?
Very specific.
The plumpness right under the cheekbone, I think it's called the malar fat pad,
The malar fat pad, yes.
starts to flatten out. And because of that downward shift, the under eye area can start to hollow out a bit.
Right. Which casts a subtle shadow.
Exactly. A shadow that makes you look perpetually tired, even if you just slept for 9 hours straight.
Which is incredibly frustrating.
And then the jawline, which might have been this sharp, defined angle in your 20s, it just begins to soften as the tissue above it subtly descends.
Right. And we look at the bigger picture here. This structural shift is the core reason the face looks older. And this is completely independent of the skin's surface quality.
That's the wild part.
It is. You could theoretically have the most flawless, poreless, perfectly textured skin in the world.
0 wrinkles.
0 wrinkles. But if the underlying fat pads have diminished and migrated downward, your face will still register visually as older than it did at 25.
Right.
This is exactly why trying to address signs of aging solely with topical creams often ends in total frustration.
Because you're trying to fix a deep, three-dimensional structural change with a two-dimensional surface treatment.
Which is physically impossible.
You cannot rub a serum into your cheek and expect it to rebuild a migrating fat pad.
No, you definitely can't.
But that doesn't mean the surface level isn't going through its own biological slowdown, too. Let's talk about the skin itself, starting with the extracellular matrix.
The collagen math.
Oh, the math on this is, well, it's slightly dismaying, to be honest.
It is a bit of a reality check.
We all know collagen production dips as we age, but quantifying it really puts those structural changes into perspective.
Yeah.
The Skin Bliss data shows that natural collagen production drops by about 1% every year after age 25.
Which really adds up.
It does. So by the time you hit 35, you're operating with about a 10% deficit compared to your peak production.
And that 10% deficit has very tangible implications for you. Collagen and elastin are those crucial proteins that give your skin its structural integrity and its recoil.
It's recoil.
Yeah, think of them as the tightly woven network of support fibers within the dermis. When you lose 10% of that network, the structural integrity gives way.
So in real life, what does that actually look like?
Well, it means the skin loses its youthful bounce. When you press into it, it doesn't spring back quite as quickly.
Right, I've noticed that.
And fine lines, which used to only appear when you smiled or frowned, they begin to settle in. They become visible, even when your face is totally at rest.
Because the support structure underneath them is weakening.
Exactly. You might also notice that the skin is just slightly thinner overall. And if you get a blemish or a minor scrape, the healing process drags out noticeably longer than it did a decade ago.
Oh, definitely. A breakout used to be gone in 2 days. Now it's a whole ordeal.
Right, because your fibroblasts, those are the cells responsible for producing collagen. They're simply operating at a reduced capacity.
So the support fibers are weakening. And simultaneously, the actual cellular renewal process is hitting the brakes.
The cell turnover rate.
Yes. Looking at the data on cell turnover, the shift in our 30s is pretty dramatic. At age 20, your skin cells, from the moment they are born in the lower layers of the epidermis to the moment they naturally shed off the surface, they are on a highly efficient 28-day cycle.
Very fast, very efficient.
But by age 35, that cycle stretches out to 40 or even 45 days.
Which is a huge delay, and that deceleration changes everything about the surface appearance of your skin.
How so?
Well, the desmosomes, those are the tiny biological bonds that hold dead skin cells onto the surface of your face. They don't dissolve as efficiently as they used to.
Okay.
So instead of shedding away seamlessly, dead skin cells are just hanging onto the stratum corneum for almost 3 weeks longer.
Wow. So I like to think of it like a factory that's slowing down its conveyor belt.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Right. So the production line slows down, and you've got this backlog of old products just piling up at the end of the line, waiting to be shipped out.
Exactly. The natural exfoliation process just becomes sluggish.
And the visible result of that 45-day delay is basically the hallmark complaint of our 30s, which is dullness.
Dullness, absolutely.
Because dead skin cells don't reflect light smoothly. They scatter it.
They do.
So you lose that natural glow. You get a rougher, somewhat uneven texture.
And it gets worse. On top of that dullness, your expensive serums and moisturizers are struggling to penetrate.
Oh, right, because of the buildup.
Yes, they have to fight through a much thicker barrier of dead cells just to get to living tissue underneath.
Which is incredibly inefficient. You're basically moisturizing dead skin.
Pretty much. And this delayed cell turnover raises a very important issue about what else is trapped, or rather hiding beneath that surface layer.
Ah, yes.
Which brings us to a major reality check regarding sun damage.
The ghosts of sunburns past.
Exactly.
This is something I hear people talk about all the time. You're looking in the mirror one morning and you see a brand new sunspot on your cheek.
Out of nowhere.
Right. And your immediate thought is, where did that come from? I wear SPF every day. I haven't even been to the beach this year.
But the biology here is very clear. That sudden sunspot didn't happen yesterday.
It's been waiting.
It has.
Yeah.
That hyperpigmentation was 10 or even 15 years in the making.
10 years.
Yes. The UV damage sustained from incidental exposure in your teens and 20s, walking around campus, driving without sunscreen, those careless beach days, it doesn't immediately manifest as a dark spot.
Right.
What happened back then is that ultraviolet radiation, specifically UVA rays, which penetrate very deeply, they damage the DNA of your melanocytes.
The pigment cells.
Exactly. The cells responsible for producing pigment. That cellular damage lies dormant, hidden deep within the dermal layers for a decade.
Just lurking there.
Just lurking. And it only starts to become visible in your 30s because your skin naturally begins to thin out slightly. And that delayed cell turnover we just talked about finally pushes those damaged, hyperpigmented cells up to the visible surface.
So the classic signs we start spotting in our 30s, the sudden age spots, the patches of uneven pigmentation, the little broken capillaries around the nose and cheek.
The telangiectasia, yes.
Yeah. Right, those broken capillaries, they feel like an ambush. But it's really just the biological bill coming due for the damage we accrued back when we thought, a base tan was a healthy idea.
It is an uncomfortable realization for a lot of people.
Oh, totally.
But if you're listening to this, looking in the mirror and feeling anxious, just take a breath. You cannot use a time machine to undo the sun exposure you had at 22.
As much as we'd like to.
Right. However,
Yeah.
we use this biological data to highlight exactly why aggressive sun protection in the present moment is non-negotiable.
Yes.
By applying a broad-spectrum SPF today, you aren't just protecting against a sunburn tomorrow. You are actively preventing the next decade's worth of deep cellular damage from accumulating and surfacing when you're 45.
You are stopping the cycle of DNA damage.
Exactly. You are breaking the cycle.
Which brings us to the most practical part of this deep dive. What we can actually do to fight back and optimize our skin health right now?
Solutions.
Yes. The Skin Bliss data introduces a concept they call the honest framework. And I think it is brilliant because it cuts through so much of the marketing deception out there.
It really simplifies things.
The framework is simple. When you have a concern about your face, you need to identify it as one of two things.
Right.
Is this a concern about your skin quality, or is it a concern about your facial structure?
That distinction is the absolute bedrock of building an effective, realistic routine.
So how do we separate them?
Well, if the issue falls under skin quality, which includes texture, tone, hydration levels, surface hyperpigmentation, and the strength of your skin barrier, then topical skincare is your best tool.
Okay.
It can be incredibly effective when used correctly. But if the issue is structural, like the volume loss in your cheeks, the hollowing under your eyes, or the descent of your jawline, topical skincare is only going to improve the surface canvas.
It will not alter the underlying frame.
Exactly. It's painting a wall versus rebuilding the drywall.
Okay, let's look at the actionable solutions for skin quality first, because the data lays out specific, biologically proven ingredients to target the changes we've been discussing.
Let's do it.
For that sluggish 45-day cell turnover causing the dullness and rough texture, the recommended actives are retinoids, vitamin C, and alpha-hydroxy acids, or AHAs.
So let's break down how those actually function. AHAs, like glycolic or lactic acid, they work by actively melting the bonds holding those dead cells together.
Melting the desmosomes we mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It effectively forces that delayed 45-day cycle to speed up and shed the buildup.
And vitamin C?
Vitamin C acts as a potent antioxidant. It neutralizes the free radicals from UV exposure and environmental pollution before they can cause further cellular damage. And at the same time, it inhibits excess melanin production to brighten those emerging sunspots.
So it's treating the past damage and protecting against future damage.
Exactly right.
And then for hydration and maintaining the skin barrier, which the data shows gets more easily compromised in our 30s, the focus is on ceramides, hyaluronic acid, and niacinamide.
Yes, the barrier supporters.
Right. Hyaluronic acid pulls moisture into the skin, but you have to pair it with ceramides. Ceramides are the essential lipids that act like mortar between the bricks of your skin cells.
That's a great way to put it.
They seal that moisture in and keep environmental irritants out. Because if your barrier is compromised, everything else you apply is just going to cause inflammation.
Exactly. Barrier health is paramount. You can't use actives on a broken barrier.
No, it just burns.
It does. Now, to address that 10% drop in collagen, the data supports the use of retinoids, which are vitamin A derivatives and peptides.
How do those work?
Retinoids work by communicating directly with your cellular receptors. They basically signal your fibroblasts to ramp up collagen production and increase cellular turnover.
Getting the factory moving again?
Exactly. And peptides are essentially short chains of amino acids that act as messengers. They tell your skin it needs to repair itself and generate more structural proteins.
But the data includes a very necessary caveat here regarding collagen-boosting topicals.
The reality check.
Yes. While retinoids and peptides absolutely do support collagen production, the biological effect is modest.
It's a real effect, but it is modest.
Right. They are excellent for maintenance. They will help keep your cellular factories running efficiently, and they will soften fine lines. But we have to be honest here. A topical peptide serum is not going to completely rebuild a collapsed extracellular matrix.
No, it won't. And that brings us to the most critical foundational step of this entire framework.
The Holy Grail.
The absolute holy grail. Out of all the complex acids, the expensive serums, the advanced peptides, the single most effective tool for skin quality is daily SPF.
We hear it all the time.
We preach SPF constantly, but the hard data here really shuts down any argument for skipping it. Consistent daily use of broad-spectrum SPF is responsible for preventing 80% of visible aging.
80%. That is an incredible statistic.
It really puts things in perspective.
It does. You could spend hundreds of dollars a month on top-tier retinoids and antioxidant serums. But if you are exposing your skin to UV radiation, even just incidental exposure through a car window or running errands on a cloudy day, you are actively degrading the very collagen you are paying so much money to try and stimulate.
It's self-defeating.
UV radiation is the primary environmental driver for the breakdown of structural proteins and the hyperactivation of those pigment cells. Blocking the UV is literally the only way to protect your investment.
Exactly. It is the ultimate preventative measure. But this brings us to the other side of the honest framework, which requires us to talk about the limits of skincare.
Setting realistic expectations.
We need to discuss what topicals absolutely cannot do.
Right. Because I walk through a high-end department store and I see these $300 creams promising a liquid facelift.
They're everywhere.
Claiming to sculpt the jawline and lift the cheekbones, and part of me obviously wants to believe it. But looking at the biological realities of volume loss we discussed earlier, it seems physically impossible for a topical product to address that 1% annual fat loss.
Because it is impossible. This is where consumers have to be ruthlessly pragmatic.
Right.
If your concern is facial structure, skincare will not solve it. Topicals, no matter how scientifically advanced the delivery system claims to be, cannot replace lost malar fat pads.
They just can't.
Furthermore, they cannot address the deeper structural shifts that happen in our 30s and beyond. Things like muscle atrophy and natural bone resorption.
Bone resorption.
Yes. Over time, the actual bones of our face, the maxilla around the upper jaw, and the mandible, they recede and change shape slightly.
Wow.
They offer less physical support for the tissue above them.
That is a harsh reality check. If you are trying to reverse those deep three-dimensional structural shifts, you are stepping out of the skincare aisle and into the realm of clinical medical interventions.
Absolutely.
The data points out that addressing true volume loss requires procedures like dermal fillers, which physically replace the lost volume, or fat grafting.
Yes.
And when it comes to existing deep-set wrinkles, the ones that are visible when your face is completely at rest topicals, have limits there too, right?
Very strict limits. They can refine the surrounding texture, they can plump the superficial layer with hydration to temporarily soften the appearance of the wrinkle, but they cannot erase a deep crease completely.
Right. So setting those realistic expectations is really the most vital step in your skincare journey.
It prevents constant disappointment.
Exactly. If you purchase a firming cream expecting it to act like a surgical lift or a targeted filler, you will inevitably feel like you wasted your money.
You'll be angry.
But if you use that same cream with the expectation that it will improve your skin's texture, fortify your barrier, and give you a healthier, more hydrated canvas, you're going to be highly satisfied with the results.
Because it's doing what it's biologically capable of doing.
Which transitions perfectly into the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive, understanding the big picture of healthy aging.
Yes.
The Skin Bliss Guide boils the approach down to a few core philosophies. And the primary one is a crucial rule for your 30s. Consistency beats intensity.
This is a massive issue.
Tell me about it.
So many people hit their 30s, they notice these changes we've discussed, and they panic.
They want to fix it overnight.
Exactly. They fall into the trap of aggressively treating their skin. They buy the strongest chemical peel available, the highest concentration of retinol, and they apply it all at once, hoping for a rapid transformation.
What does the biology say about that?
Biologically, all this does is obliterate the skin barrier. It leads to chronic inflammation. And inflammation is a known, potent accelerator of the aging process.
So it's making it worse.
Much worse. The data heavily emphasizes that a gentle, well-formulated routine used consistently every single day yields far superior long-term results than occasionally nuking your skin with harsh actives.
It's just like fitness. Doing a manageable, evidence-based workout 3 times a week for a year is going to give you incredible results.
Exactly.
Doing one agonizing 3-hour workout once a month is just going to leave you injured.
That's spot on.
And just like fitness, your skincare routine is virtually useless if you are neglecting what the data calls the non-optional extras.
The foundational triad.
Right. We are talking about sleep, systemic hydration, and stress management.
Because it is all an interconnected biological system. When you are chronically sleep-deprived or highly stressed, your body pumps out excess cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone. It actively breaks down collagen and elastin.
So you're losing even more.
Yes, and when you are internally dehydrated, your skin cells literally shrink. That makes every single fine line look instantly deeper and more pronounced.
So you look older just because you haven't drank water.
Exactly. You cannot out-skincare a poor lifestyle. No amount of topical hyaluronic acid can compensate for chronic internal dehydration. And no peptide can outpace the collagen destruction caused by unmanaged stress.
They really are non-optional.
They are the baseline physiological requirements for your cells to function properly.
It really puts the focus back on internal health. But honestly, out of all the data and the biological breakdowns in this guide, the most important takeaway for me was regarding mindset.
It's a comforting message.
It is. The text is very clear on this point. Your face is supposed to change.
Yes.
A healthy 35-year-old face looks like a 35-year-old face. It is not supposed to look like a 20-year-old face.
And that's okay.
We're surrounded by this immense societal pressure to freeze time, but aging is not a disease that needs to be cured. It is simply a biological progression.
It really requires a profound psychological shift. Cultivating a healthy mindset means accepting that your facial architecture will evolve.
Because it has to.
Right. The goal of a routine shouldn't be to look 22 forever. It's a battle you will biologically lose. The goal should be to maintain the healthiest, most resilient, most vibrant skin possible at whatever age you are right now.
Just maximizing the quality of what you have.
Exactly. When you embrace that reality, skincare stops being this frantic, anxiety-driven fight against the clock. It transforms into a sustainable ritual of self-care and health maintenance.
And to actually build and maintain that sustainable ritual, the source of our data today, the Skin Bliss app, is incredibly useful.
It is a great practical tool.
Because knowing the cellular biology is great, but actually remembering to apply your antioxidants and your SPF in the right order and tracking what ingredients are actively working for your specific skin barrier, that's where the challenge lies for most people.
Life gets busy.
It does. Having an app to manage that consistency is a huge advantage. So let's summarize the major aha moments from today's deep dive.
Let's run through them.
First, we have the invisible shift. Remember the consistent 1% annual drop in both facial fat and collagen production. That is the biological engine driving the physical change in your face's shape and structure.
It's structural, not just surface.
Right. Second, the ghost of sunburn's past. That hidden UVA damage from your 20s is finally surfacing due to slower cell turnover, which is exactly why daily broad-spectrum SPF is your best defense.
Actively blocking 80% of visible aging.
80%. And finally, the honest framework. Knowing the strict boundary between treating your skin's quality with evidence-based topicals and understanding that you cannot alter your facial structure with a cream.
It is a significant amount of biological data to process, but understanding the mechanisms is ultimately empowering.
It really is.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to consider, based on the biology we've unpacked today.
Okay, what is it?
Well, we discussed how our skin cell turnover inherently slows down as we age, stretching from a highly efficient 28-day cycle to a more leisurely 45-day cycle.
The conveyor belt slowing down.
Right. What if we viewed that biological slowdown not as a physical flaw to be endlessly corrected, but as a biological cue for us to stop expecting instant results in every facet of our lives?
Oh, that's interesting.
Instead of fighting our own biology to look and operate exactly as we did 10 years ago, how might accepting that a healthy 35 looks 35 completely change your relationship with the mirror tomorrow morning?
Wow. That is a genuinely powerful reframe. I know I'm going to be thinking about that 45-day cycle differently tomorrow morning when I turn on those fluorescent lights.
I hope so.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Stay consistent, wear your SPF, and we will catch you on the next one.
That's it for today. If you want to check your own routine for ingredient clashes, Build a personalized plan or track your skin's progress. Download Skin Bliss at skinbliss.app. See you next time.